What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Tennessee musician, producer, singer, writer, and author V.C.R. We spoke about the films of Yorgos Lanthimos, Raised by Wolves, Adult Swim, Smiling Friends, the magic of the Willy Wonka soundtrack, science fiction, Tennessee hip-hop, Lord of the Rings, the importance of the hero's journey, and the creative process behind her debut album, The Chronicles of a Caterpillar, The Egg. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back. It's a day. I think today's Wednesday. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember.
What is today? What is time?
Yeah, time is a flat circle for real. It's some sort of day. It's kind of nice-ish out. Not really, but it's whatever. I'm Dylan CineMasai. I got a lot of names. I do a lot of things. I'm all over the place. And we're talking to somebody today who's also all over the place. It has been up since 6 o'clock this morning on some crazy shit.
Some crazy shit.
Oh man. Yeah, so this is she's a musician, she's a producer, she's an author, she runs her own nonprofit, and she's got this really, really great special project that's dropping probably a couple of days from the time we record this.
Friday.
Oh yeah, right.
It's Friday. It's Friday. Look at that.
For some reason I saw the date and like thought you were dropping on a Saturday. And I'm just like, that's kind of cool, but nah, you're dropping on a Friday. Okay.
I'm dropping on a Friday. I'm the Friday drops.
Hell yeah. So we got V The Martian, V.C.R, Veronica is in the building. This has been a very long time coming. We've been talking. We were talking off camera. We've been connected for at least probably almost a year at this point. Like
I think it's 2 years, because I think
really
it's 2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because I sent you the so when we originally met through I was talking about you to Pink Seafood. Shout out to Seafood. Thanks to Seafood. And that's my bro. Like I was just talking to him about the album and everything that I want to do with it and like the type of respect that I wanted with this album. And he was just like, I know who I want to connect you to, because I'm a connector. He's a connector too. He was like, I'm going to connect you with Dylan. And I was like, who is Dylan? Is he going to get it? Like, is he going to get the scope of everything that I'm trying to do? Is he going to understand my why? And he said, bro, he's going to definitely understand the album. He's going to definitely understand your why. He's going to definitely understand like the scope of everything you're trying to do. And it was 2 years ago, because I sent you the demo before it was done.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then you was like, bro, as soon as it's done, send it to me. And then I sent you the sneak peek when it was done.
Right.
Last year.
Wow. Yeah. Like I'm really just now realizing how much the pandemic just completely fucked up my sense of time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like really kind of scary to me. But all that said, thank you so much. Like I appreciate y'all trust more than anything in the world. And like, like when I listened to the project and like went through the whole general concept and just like, there's like it seemed it like you're just like perfect for this show, like your whole thing is film and music, your whole thing is cinematic soul. We're gonna get into all of that, but I want to start with I'm gonna start with the first question I ask everybody who comes on here. What was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Have you ever seen The Killing of the Sacred Deer?
That's actually. Wow.
That's my favorite. Yeah. So his work, like actually The Lobster. Have you seen The Lobster?
Oh, The Lobster is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like I forgot his name. I don't know why, but like that director, I studied him. I found him in 2020,
Yeah.
and I studied all his work. I've watched all his interviews and everything because that form of cinematography and dry, like dry metaphoric humor.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and even like the allegories he puts like in his, like it's just, it's all good. And I knew I wanted to do a film for my first LP in the series. And his work, I was like, yeah. I actually started watching a lot of psycho thrillers. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I looked it up because I couldn't remember his name either, but his name is Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes,
He's
Yorgos Lanthimos.
yeah.
He's the goat.
He's crazy. He's crazy, honestly. Like, cause I think the first movie his I saw The Lobster, and I was like, oh,
Yes,
who's this guy? Like, it really
but
kind of
the
yeah.
lobster is amazing.
Like I remember the first time I saw it and I had to like explain it to somebody. I'm like,
Right.
it's about these people like who live in a hotel and they're all gonna become like a certain animal when they die, and like this
Yes.
one guy wants to be a lobster.
He wants to
And
be a lobster because um I forgot, like they're like the cockroaches of the sea, and so they won't, like he'll live forever or something, like he'll live
right.
100 years. And it's like an allegory to, like, I don't know, I just like everything about Yorgos. Like Yorgos, I love him so much.
Yeah. Not like I love his style. And like let's jump back to Killing of the Sacred Deer. So like how do you feel about it? Like, because like that's like not like
The
a
killing
pleasant
of the
movie to
sacred
watch.
deer knocked my motherfucking head off. It
Yeah, son.
knocked my head off. Like that was the first one I saw. And then I went and saw The Lobster, because you kind of have to dig for The Lobster. And then there's another one
The
that you
Favorite.
really have to dig for. And
It's The
it's
Favorite, I
even
think,
more
right?
obscure. Like, and it's even better. Like I was like, this is so amazing to me. But The Killing of the Sacred Deer, it knocks my head off. I love the casting. Um, I love how he plays with political topics, or I would say polypolitical topics. So for me, like I love psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm looking at his films from a psychological standpoint, period. And so like the way he paints the modern family and these like secrets and the darkness, and almost like the way that the characters, um the dialogue with the characters, how it seems so dry, but it's so, how he creates like tension with the music, the score.
Yeah.
It's like it's amazing to me, because ultimately I'm a musician first, you know, I'm a composer first. And you know, I went crazy over the use of like the score, the use of the instruments, like how he had like one violin playing one note at one time, and then it was just, it was brilliant to me, honestly. Did you find it political?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, cause like it's been a like I'm trying to remember like everything that
I
happened
know it's
because
been a minute.
because it came out in 2017 and I think I only saw it like once. But like yeah, no, I would consider pretty much everything he does to be like some sort of political. Like
Yes,
even if it's not like even if it's not like about politics as we might understand them, it's
yes,
definitely about like the politics of like family and like the
yeah.
politics of like human
White
connection.
suburbia,
White suburbia for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and wealth.
Like yeah. Like yeah, like especially Killing of a Sacred Deer. And
Yeah.
like the most recent movie of his I watched was The Favorite with Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone and what's her face? Oh, who played the Queen? She was so good. But yeah, like so and like that movie is more explicitly political because it's about like a literal queen
Yeah.
and like her whole So
Now
like
I have to go and watch it. I
nah,
have to
go.
go and watch The Favorite.
It's incredible. It was my
Yeah.
favorite movie that came out in what year was that? It was either 2019 or I think it was sometime between 2018 and 2020. But the
I'm
shit
like,
went
have I
crazy.
seen it? Because I really went on a crazy psycho thriller binge, like 2020, 2020, really 2019, 2020. That's when I started really getting into psycho thriller
Right.
composition.
Was there were there any other people besides Lanthimos that you were really digging into, or was it just him?
Um, so director wise, I'm not sure, but there was this film, man. I know you've seen it. I have to like look it up right
Yeah,
now because
do
it
it.
is so good.
I've been doing that this whole time while you've been talking. I'm like going through Wikipedia pages. Do your thing.
Because this one was so good. Wait, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Oh, okay. Ooh, sorry.
No, it's cool. No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm trying to find this one because it's so good. It's
You remember what it was about?
yeah, it's about this family that gets kidnapped.
Oh, was it Funny Games?
Nah, it wasn't
Okay.
Funny Games. I'm about to tell you right now. Psychological thrillers. Because some of them were really bad. And some of them were like really good. The ones that were really good were just really good. Let me see. I should have had this together. Because like I'm telling you, I just went on like I just went on the craziest binge. Oh, Nocturnal Animals. Noc-
Oh, I haven't seen Nocturnal Animals yet. That's the one with Amy
Jake
Adams and
Gyllenhaal.
yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah. I haven't seen that yet. It's good.
Yeah, Nocturnal Animals is definitely worth. Like, I would love to see what you thought of it because I didn't think that it was okay. Now it's getting weird. All right. Nocturnal Animals was super good. Yeah, honestly, like a TV show, I'm really picky because I'm into like either psycho thrillers, like something like or a French film, or like Adult Swim. Like I'm really into like Adult Swim. My favorite cartoon that I've watched actually lately is Smiling Friends.
I was gonna ask if you like Smiling
I
Friends.
did. I
Oh
really
man,
do like Smiling
I
Friends.
really fuck with Smiling Friends
I
so much.
really fuck with Smiling Friends. Like we needed a Smiling Friends. I haven't seen a Smiling Friends type. Like the humor is just good. It's not even about like, like Rick and Morty gets so political at certain points, and Smiling Friends, I just feel like it's just stupid. Like I just
Yeah. It doesn't make you think too much because like
yeah, it doesn't.
right, because like that's one of the things I appreciate about Rick and Morty, but even that can just get like every once in a while you just want to watch like some dumb shit.
Yeah,
And
like
like
some like I feel like a lot of times people just want to watch dumb shit and like
yeah, man.
it's super dumb.
And like yeah, like I think my favorite I'm so happy we're talking about this. I haven't talked about this with anybody yet.
Yeah, I love Adult Swim, or
yeah,
it's
man.
not Adult Swim actually. It's
No, it is.
HBO.
No, it is Adult Swim, but it's
Oh,
on
okay, cool.
HBO. Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay,
like
cool, cool.
The Mr. Frog episode is one of my favorite episodes of TV I've seen in such a
Bruh, the
long
Mr.
time.
Frog episode is insane.
Yeah.
So basically, Mr. Frog. So I'm getting it right. He's a psychopath, right?
Yeah, I think
He's a
like
psychopath.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. Mr. Frog is a psychopath, but he's also like this rich celebrity, which is kind of political. Uh just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Smiling Friends, like we needed one thing. Oh, how did you feel
Mhm.
about Raised by Wolves?
Oh, the HBO show. I watched like the first 3 episodes of it,
You
and
didn't
I
like
thought it.
it?
Like it's not that I didn't like it. I just like because like I appreciated how it looked. I
I
appreciate pretty much
understand.
like because like I'm at a point in my life where if you try something that's like really different and that like not to say that no one's ever done anything like that because they have, but like it's weird. It's like really out there, and I really just like even if I don't finish something, if I watch it and it's like really trying to do something different and interesting, I'm gonna be like, you get your points for that because
Right,
like we need more people to get money to make weird shit like this, like
right,
money. So like
right.
I liked it and I was interested, but like for some reason it's not even like a personal thing. Like I didn't like it. I
It
just
just
kind
didn't
of
stuck. It didn't
it
stick.
just didn't stick. Like
Yeah, it just
sometimes
didn't stick.
it like like shows like that every once in a while. Like I'll come back. Like I'm sure I'm gonna go back and watch it because I'm bored
Right,
one day. I'm like, oh, this shit was crazy. Like why didn't
right.
I stick with it?
Yeah, it
And
got
like
crazy. It got crazy. It was slow. It was slow,
right,
but I'm into like psycho thrillers or
yeah, me
sci-fi,
too.
like
Like
really weird shit. Like people that like I really do like sometimes I watch like cartoons like Smiling Friends
yeah,
or like psycho thrillers like Nocturnal Animals. I really like Nocturnal Animals actually. Well, the acting was okay, but I love the idea of it. Yorgos, obviously, the way the people he chooses and everything, amazing. But
right.
I watch like sci-fi stuff, and I'm like, wow, you really have to be purely imaginative and so trusting to create a world like this and to make it into something this big. And then to get someone to trust you to like create that world and then find a Publix that is willing to follow the story, like to purely follow your
Yeah,
imagination.
right.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite films that inspired or soundtracks really that inspired my album is Willy Wonka.
Ah, I can see
Willy
that.
Wonka.
I can
Like,
see that.
no, seriously. If you close your eyes and okay, so one day so this has been this album, The Chronicles of a Caterpillar, has been in the works for about 4 years. And
Right.
the reason why it's been in the works for 4 years is just because I've had so many roadblocks. I never wanted to be a producer. I never wanted to touch the keys. And so I've worked with different producers, and it seemed like every single time I work with somebody, they'll try and pull some fuck shit, like holding the files at the last minute or, you know, just crazy shit to the point where I didn't want to like do it myself. Um, so at the beginning of 2020, right before the ball dropped, I was at this point where I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like it's too many roadblocks. And I was in my room and I was listening to classical music. And for some reason, the first song from the Willy Wonka um, soundtrack started playing.
The Gene Wilder
And
movie,
like
right?
those first, huh?
I'm sorry to cut you off. The Gene Wilder movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Like the old school, old school.
Right, right, right.
And like if you ever just listen to the composition of the first song and how it comes up, it's really brilliant. It's brilliant. And like it really inspired me, just like sci-fi and um I would say Afrofuturism from the scope of, because the Afrofuturism is quite political, that term.
That
But
is.
from the scope of the parable of a sower, inspired my work. But really the Willy Wonka soundtrack, it really like, I think on that day, either I was just down. And I usually listen to like classical music, gospel, or trap music to get my spirit back up. You know, got to keep my spirit high.
Mm-hmm.
And in the queue, like I just started hearing the dun, 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 and it just came on. And I think I was just cleaning or something. And like I was listening to the words of the song, and he was just basically, here's this grown man singing about like come to my world of pure imagination.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about how political it is for Black kids, poor kids, kids that live on or just above the poverty line, lower middle class kids, to have the audacity and the privilege to imagine anything. That in itself is political. And
Right.
I listened to that album, that soundtrack, and I actually met with Sudan Archives like the next week.
Wow.
And, you know, she's a producer and she knew about what happened. And she was like, girl, look, you're going to have to produce it yourself. You're going to have to produce it yourself. You're going to have to try. And Liv had told, Pink Seafood told me the same. Swarvy told me the same. And that album really, it said, wow, like how amazing would it be if you, Veronica, a girl from Memphis, Tennessee, a place where people are programmed to not imagine anything different, a life anything different than our psycho-cybernetic code. What if you created a world in your music that you could only create, a story that you can only tell? Kind of like Parable of the Sower or Parable of the Talents.
Right.
So Willy Wonka.
Like to have it all start there is kind of beautiful, just like considering like the whole idea, like, you know, like just of pure imagination and just like
Yeah,
how that's kind of like the building block, and
yeah,
or like not the building block, but like the base that like everything kind of starts at. And like,
yes.
you know, like, and like with sci-fi in particular, like you were saying, like I've been thinking about it a lot because I just saw I'm gonna talk about this movie every chance I get now. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw that a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and like just like the
All at
idea.
once.
Yeah. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Who's in it?
Michelle Yeoh's in it. Um,
So is it only in theaters?
right now, yeah, but it's coming
Okay,
to
cool.
it's
I'm
coming
gonna have to go check that out. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
all at
I think
once.
I saw
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Like I can't, I'm not gonna try to describe what it's about. It's like you just go watch it. But it's just like that movie to me kind of exemplifies everything you were talking about imagination. And it's an immigrant story, not a Black immigrant story, but it's an immigrant story in a lot of ways. And just like what it means to imagine the way your life could go, should go, the way you want it to go, the way it's gone, and just like it's just very much a movie about imagination and the places that could take you, you know? And I think science fiction, more than almost any other genre of movie or just like culture in general, whether it's film or literature, music, whatever, like sci-fi is like kind of geared toward that sort of thing, you know? Like it's like sci-fi is also like one of the hardest things to really define, because like what
Yes.
is science fiction? Like like anything involving
Yes.
medicine or time
That-
travel or whatever, aliens, like it's
And
all science
then
fiction. Like
and then if you like, excuse me, it's
nah,
that is why I fell in the wormhole
right,
of like psycho thrillers and sci-fi, because I was like, actually, if something is labeled sci-fi, it's not cool to me. That's probably why you like, what was it? Raised by Wolves, you would need a second with it to let it grow on you, because it's so blatantly sci-fi. And I'm
right,
just like, what is so cool about Yorgos's work to me is it's sci-fi, but it's not sci-fi. Like there's
yeah,
no aliens in it, but it's like these human beings, like what is going on, because this shit is not normal,
right,
and like it's science but it's fiction. And so like that's why I fell in the wormhole, but I'm in the same boat. If something is like purely about aliens or purely like about these things, I I kind of like get turned off as soon as if it's predictable, I'm kind of liking it. But like, I love like sci-fi where it's like the alien, you wouldn't even know it. That word is not said at all.
right, yeah,
Like Parable of the Sower, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Or even something like oh man, you ever see Fantastic Planet before?
Or Fantastic Fungi?
No, no, Fantastic Planet.
No, I haven't. I thought, is it a series? Like
No,
Fantastic Fungi and then Fantastic, because it was very Fantastic Fungi was more of like a documentary.
nah, Fantastic Planet was it was an animated movie about a race of like not earthly beings who own like humans as pets, you know? And it it's from the 70s, I think.
Oh,
And
I haven't seen
oh,
it.
it's so fire. Like it's just
Wow.
it's really pretty to look at. The soundtrack's amazing. Madlib took a lot of influence from it when he was first like Quasimodo, and the whole idea of Quasimodo came from Fantastic Planet, and he
Oh my
references it
God.
and samples it a lot. Like it's Fantastic Planet is great. And I like anybody listening who hasn't seen
I'm
Fantastic
literally
Planet,
taking notes here.
like
Okay. Everything all at once. Everything all at once.
yeah. and and then on top of that, like, oh, what was I saying before? Oh, so like, but like, I feel you on the predictable thing, but like, I love me some aliens, man. Like, I'm
Mm.
I'm big on the subtleties and allegorical stuff and all that. But like, I also love like, you ever see the last Indiana Jones movie? Like, you
I
like,
haven't.
so
I
at the end of
haven't.
I'm gonna spoil it because it's not good. But like at the at the end of the movie, they go to a pyramid because like they're looking for it's called the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So like the little MacGuffin shit they're looking for is literally a crystal alien skull, right? And they get into the pyramid and they find the crystal skull, and the villain of the movie picks it up, and like an alien just like like the stereotypical little gray man with the big black pupils beams down from the shit and like looks into her eyes, and she just like emulates and just lights on fire and just like dies while she's holding this I love that type of shit too. Like that's just like it's the most like unsubtle
Yeah.
unelegant, inelegant thing ever. And I'm just like,
That's
I love this
how
shit.
that's how Raised by Wolves gets. That's how it
Right.
gets. Like, and it's like the production value is so great. I really appreciate the colors. their use of, they actually had to, the last season, they had to switch it up because they were getting, I know they were getting creamed by a lot of people because their main character, like I know that they were, I'm not gonna give it away, but they had to like switch up like some roles to make it right. But I really like Raised by Wolves.
All right.
Eventually it gets really cool.
I trust you, so I'm gonna try it again.
Try it
Cause
again. Try
yeah,
it again. Like I think you'll start getting into it because it you got like it takes a turn. And then when it takes that turn, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
okay.
It's not as predictable as I thought it would be.
Right. Yeah. I'm a tap back in because like I said, I wanted to try it. I just kind of, like I got a list of stuff that I just like, my list is never ending. Like I'm always getting recommendations and stuff. So like I'm just like I just it was there and I'm like, I'm gonna come back to this, I promise. And I just didn't. But I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try it
Oh,
again.
nice.
And
And Fantastic Planets, everything, everywhere, all at once.
beautiful. Yeah, I'm hoping to leave out of here with like 6 more recommendations for me, but we'll
Right.
see what happens. Cause like already, you just have such a like I said, like
I love
this is
film. I love film. Well, I love books. I love books, but um I'm a storyteller, and to sharpen my tools, like when it comes to songwriting and creating worlds, like I have to like watch it like Smiling Friends, honestly.
right.
Because like to me, like if I'm when I'm watching it, I'm like, how did they come up with this shit? Because it's like so not normal,
Right.
like, but like to me, that's the beauty of like being a storyteller. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, nah, absolutely. Like it's just like wanting to tap into that, like not like to make the same thing, but to just kind of like get that spark, like that's what we're all looking for. And
Right.
like considering how deep you are into this and like already like we've already been talking for like a half hour. I only asked
Right.
one
And
question.
we
Like
literally only talked about film. Yeah, I am perfect for this show. Yeah,
that's
I knew I would
incredible.
be. I
Yeah,
knew
me
I would
too.
be, but like I really do love film. And I actually studied and worked in contemporary art for a long time under
Mhm.
Khalil Joseph.
Oh
Um,
wow. Shout out to
yeah,
Khalil Joseph.
yeah, at the Underground Museum, and Karan Davis and Anye, like those were my OGs. So
Wow.
I didn't even know like for 6 years that I was like getting a course study in like me, being with Arthur Jaffa and Helen Molesworth and like people like that, like literally studying under them. And that's when I started getting into like film, because they don't, like that's film, like that is the
Yeah.
film world. And so I really do, like I'm such a nerd for it, like really,
Man.
I really am.
I could tell. Like, I want to touch on that specifically, but before we do, what's the first movie experience you can remember having? Like, it could be
Ooh.
at the theater, it could be at your
Oh,
cousin's
bruh.
house, like, whatever comes to mind first.
Um, the first movie, it depends, because my father was very resourceful when it came to like technology. Like we didn't have a TV in the car, and so he like hooked up one, like
Yeah.
that's how he was. Um, wow, that's a good. So my fondest memories as a child were, my mother was super into like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Narnia, the Narnia Tales,
Right, right.
Lord of the Rings, so on and so forth. And so growing up, I not only read like The Hobbit and those books, A Wrinkle in Time, like stuff like that, but my mother was super into it. Like we were like the only Black family cosplaying and going to see Lord of the Rings. And it was funny because I had a very sheltered childhood. And so like I couldn't watch Harry Potter. So I was really late to the Harry Potter train because it was witchcraft. But they were like obsessed with Charles Dickens, and like, you know, like the Narnia trilogy and
Yeah, I was
like
about to
Hobbit.
say,
And they were so
like...
because they had Christian allegories.
Okay, yeah,
But
right.
like,
Okay.
yo, like honestly, all of it like is the same. And
Right.
you have this protagonist that is going on this journey. And while the protagonist is going on this journey, there is so many, or this quest, I would say, and to find the treasure or to do this or to do that. And always, you know, rarely do you have a protagonist that knows their power at the beginning of the journey. Usually during the journey, the protagonist and their co uh, you know, stars don't know their power. They're learning their power as they go. And yeah, that was like a seed. That was a powerful seed because like everything I do is kind of based off of the protagonist quest or Lord of the Rings, Charles, you know, like you know, like everything is a story like that. Like I'm really
Right.
into that.
Yeah, because I'm assuming you're familiar with like the hero's journey and like the Joseph
Yeah.
Campbell stuff and all that, right? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
how it's all laid out with like the refusing the call, and then you
Right.
like
Yes.
get at it and stuff. Yeah, like that's
Right.
like you like you're so right. Like that's like the foundation of like so many of all of those stories, you know? Like that that's like maybe one of the most timeless stories ever told, and it's just been told in, you know, hundreds of thousands, probably even just millions of different ways,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And like,
Same in the Matrix.
yep,
Same
yep,
in like, you know, it's that, you know, I don't know and I refuse. And then at the end, it's like, I have to because of the why or the purpose or whatever.
right. Yeah, you know, you could say that about the Matrix, you could say it about Iron Man, you could say it about the Fast and the Furious if you wanted to, because there was a point when Paul Walker and Vin Diesel didn't want to do the shit either. And you know, like it's
Right.
just like, and then it's just like, well, you know, like we were street racers and now we're working with the government and we're basically the Avengers but with cars. Like, you know, like
Right.
it's just really weird and interesting to see how all of that stuff just like mutates and creates its own story, and like we just watch the same story get told in about like 2,000 different ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that, you know, like, and it seems like you do too, and
I
that's tight.
do. I do. I really do.
So
Yeah, I
like,
think that that's like honestly, like I live in a dream world in most cases. So I feel like I am Frodo, you know, or Neo or
right,
anything like that, you know.
right, yeah, you know, yeah, you know, like they're like Frodo and Neo in particular are really interesting characters, just in the sense that like they're like they have specific personalities and specific goals and specific wants and needs and desire. Well, Neo not so much. Neo's just kind of, he feels kind of passive sometimes, like he's just kind of like there because he has to be type shit. But like
Right.
but like Frodo and like that, and like that's by design, you know, like that's the whole
Yeah.
point of Neo's character. But like Frodo is someone who has like a personality and like his own wants and needs and desires. But then it's like,
Right.
oh, I have this ring that my uncle Bilbo gave me, and
Right.
now I gotta go get
Out
rid of
of
this shit
nowhere. And
out of
now
nowhere. Just like,
and now
yeah, he's like, I'm at the party cutting up, and oh shit, I have this ring now. Okay, like I
yeah.
gotta take it to Mount Doom. Oh, okay,
Right.
I gotta go chill with these eagles and this wizard man who's 4 feet
Right.
taller than me. Okay, like, you know, like
Right.
it's just
Right.
like,
This giant wizard man.
right. And it's just like, you know, like the Frodo story is a story that, you know, like J.R.R. Tolkien, when he wrote Frodo was like, like he had probably heard stories like that before and just
Yeah.
like had this idea to turn it into his own universe. And then it's crazy. I was just talking to my sister about this a couple days ago. Shout out to Joey if you're listening. Because they have a friend who was reading the Silmarillion, the big like
Mhm.
Middle Earth almanac for people who don't know. Like that's like the fucking Middle Earth encyclopedia that like
Mhm.
people you really, really, really gotta love Lord of the Rings to want to read the Silmarillion. It's like it's heavy, heavy shit. But just those stories, just like the way that we find ways to just kind of flip them and like just take the template and just turn it into and like not even turn it into something else, just literally just give it like
Tell
a
it from
fresh
a
coat of
different
paint.
perspective. It's like
Yeah,
the
right.
hero's journey is so important to I would say like the human race, because ultimately like we all are on a journey, I would say, towards
Mm-hmm.
something, whether you know it or not, or you're conscious of it. And I just think it's important.
Right. Nah, I agree. I definitely think it's important. And like as you're kind of growing up and having these experiences and just like experiencing all this stuff, like you kind of already hinted at it, but was there a specific movie that kind of made you fall in love with movies in less of a passive way? Like it doesn't even necessarily need to be like, oh, like this movie is art. It can be, but it can also just be like, hey, like I'm like actively engaged with this movie, like whether it was like really entertaining or really artful. Like, do you remember the first time you had one of those moments?
Yes. I already talked about the first Lord of the Rings, but honestly, I would say one of the first like movies that I fell in love with was, this is very silly, but The Indian in the Cupboard.
Hey, that's not silly.
Yeah, I love The Indian in the Cupboard. Also, what is it called? It is not Little Women. It is not Little Women. It's the Little
The Little
Princess.
Princess, yeah, The Little
Yes,
Princess.
the Little Princess. That was one of my favorite. It was just the version that I had on V.C.R. VHS was just so imaginative. Like the way her life looked and felt. Um, and I just imagined myself in that way, like living in that way. Um, Also, what is that film? What time? When did Memoirs of a Geisha come out?
Oh, it must have been like it must have been like sometime between '04 and '06, maybe. Because I remember when I first saw Memoirs of a Geisha too.
2005. Yeah. Yeah, that was a defining moment for me. I watched Memoirs of a Geisha and I was like, what is life? And I'm really glad that now that I'm older, I can see all the problems that were in
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Like that movie was kind of crazy. Like actually, like
Yeah.
it was wild as hell. Like, but I have to say Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah, like it's like like I get it because I remember when I first saw it too, and I was just like really, I love the poster just like of her face, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I want like that was back when. Well, I mean, like still now, like if I see a poster and the shit moves me, I'm gonna go see the movie. But yeah, like
Right.
it was like just kind of pulling away the good things about that movie. Like I think about him sometimes, but then it's like, yeah, that was a bit much. I don't know if we needed to
It
do
was
it like this, y'all.
wild. It was
But
wild. Like you go back to it, I'm like, wait, they put this in on cinema and like people were
yeah.
supposed to like be okay with it. But like, yeah, it was a defining moment for me.
Yeah, like we can just stick to we can just stick to the Ella Fitzgerald great gowns, beautiful gowns. Like it was a
Look,
gorgeous movie.
gorgeous
But
movie.
the rest of it, yeah, we could just put it over there. But yeah, I get it. I get
Yeah, I
it.
really liked growing up. I really liked timepieces and
Yeah.
just timepieces. I was really into that. Like Jane Eyre and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that.
What
It
was
just
it? Sorry.
no, I think you're about to ask what I'm about to say because
Oh,
we on
okay,
the same
yeah.
page.
Okay, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, what was it about timepieces and period pieces that you like so much?
Well, like I loved growing up in Memphis. Like I didn't know anything else, but my childhood, there was a lot of like, excuse me, cognitive dissonance. It was a ton of cognitive dissonance, a ton. Um, Growing up in a black city that's white ruled, white owned, being a classically trained violinist starting at 5,
Right.
when most of the music is listening to, that people listen to is like Project Pat and like stuff, like the world, another world.
Right.
My mother was a Harvard, graduate, and my father was a pastor. So I was thrusted into like so many different worlds. Um, I also went to public school, but I went to private school during the summers. And my mother found those programs for me. It's not even like we had the money. She found those programs. So because I had so much cognitive dissonance, watching like Jane Eyre, The Little Princess, Indian in the Cupboard, that like imaginary world, I would say, like the world that I've never seen. I just felt like I was in it. Like I felt like I was part of it. Like I was very much an imaginative kid.
Right.
And I'm glad that imaginative kid like survived, because sometimes that's taken away from you. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like, yeah, like it's like film and stuff and like entertainment in general is escapist for a lot of people for
Yes.
whatever reasons, like there's I'm not gonna go and list reasons, but like because everyone's are different. But that element of it is a thing that really helps to develop an active imagination and can really, just like it drives so many of us who create today. Like that's why I'm here, that's why you're here type
Right.
shit. And with music, like where did that start with you for music? Like when did you first like actively get interested in it? Because like you said, I was gonna bring it up and try to sound cool and shit that I already do it, but yeah, like you said, you started playing violin when you were 5. So like that's a real intense commitment right there already. So like when did music kind of first come into your life in that way?
So my father was a musician and I was homeschooled until I was 5, until for preschool. No, please excuse me. I'm sorry. I already told the people the girls have been working. The girls have been working.
No, it's cool. Don't
Um,
even trip.
yeah, but yeah, so my father was a pastor and a musician, and my whole family really on my um father's side and my mother's side are like singers and musicians. So I was thrusted into that world really young. And my mother, um, I'm so grateful for her and my father, but my mother really knew that for some reason, she knew that I was like extremely imaginative, a writer, like an artistic child. And so there were these programs in Memphis because Memphis is a very musical city.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when I learned about the politics of music programs in school. I'm very glad that I grew up in Memphis. But there were a lot of programs that started children in when it came to like instruments and stuff like that. My mother used to take me to contemporary art museums and galleries, and symphonies growing up on the river, super young. Those were my, I wasn't allowed to do nothing. I wasn't even allowed to wear pants, part of the church for a while until we left that. But like, I could go to a symphony, I could go to an art gallery.
Right.
And my mother taught me myself, like herself, how to read and write. And so the way she did that was through contemporary art. And yeah, I remember this day like it was yesterday. I was sitting in a symphony, in the very back of a symphony with her, and she asked me, what instrument do I want to learn to play? Because she was very much the type of mother that would be like, use your words, use your words, use your words. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, okay, I want to learn how to play that. And that was the beautiful violin swaying, I wanted to do that. And so she found a program called the Mini Maestros, that gave the opportunity for lap babies to go to symphony practices and sit with each instrument. And lo and behold, as a baby, I was drawn to violin. And so I started violin lessons at 5, and 7 is when I just started really realizing that I was actually playing it. So sometimes I say 5, sometimes I say 7.
Right. So, like you kind of like you pick up the violin but sometime between the ages of 5 and 7. And, like you kind of go through this and play it and learn it and come to master it. As you're growing up and playing the violin and kind of taking in all these experiences of the museums and all the opera and all the other stuff you're doing with your parents, particularly your mother. What other music, like, is there other music that you're kind of going off and finding on your own, or is everything you're listening to kind of coming from your parents?
Oh no, I had to find things on my own because I was sheltered. I was a sheltered kid.
Right.
The section of the church we went to was the Holiness Church in Kojic. And in the Holiness Church, my grandmother was a bishop. And women didn't wear pants. My ears still aren't pierced. Women didn't wear earrings, makeup, blonde hair, like anything like that. That's why I am direct karma. But yeah, they didn't allow me to do it. So the greatest blessing was finding music that I liked on my own. Yeah.
And what was some of that stuff? Because you mentioned Project Pat. I'm sure 3-6 played a huge role at some point.
Yeah, I used to sneak and listen to Project Pat, Yo Gotti, what's his name? Shoot. Nobody Needs Nobody. What's his name?
Oh, damn. Oh, no. Oh, my.
I can't think of his name. But he always be talking about pure cocaine. But
Play It Fly. Play It Fly is what you're talking about. Yeah. Play It Fly. That's a deep cut, by the way. Wow, that's crazy.
Deep cut. That is on the surface cut from Memphis. That on the radio. But no, like because like I was living in a city where that was just the lifestyle, I was very attracted to that because like, that's not the life that I'm sheltered from. That's a life I don't see. Right. And so it was just interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. But like at the same time, it's also like all around you, and that's like the culture of Memphis. So it's not like, right. It's not like you're like completely removed from it. Like you're just like not directly living it type right. Shit, like.
And so like at night I would take my little radio or my MP3 player, and I would listen to like trap music all night, fall in love with that. I fell in love with Pharrell Williams of the Neptunes,
Mm-hmm.
NERD,
As
very
any good
early.
millennial will. Like
Yeah. And obviously like I went through my like Erica Badu, like neo soul phase as well,
Mhm.
via LimeWire. Um, but yeah, like
Yeah.
honestly, I had to find it. It was a blessing because I had to find it on my own. Do you mind if I smoke?
No, do your thing.
He like you at home.
No,
I
yeah,
can't wait
yeah.
till we can do this in person, man. But
Yeah, no, me
yeah,
either.
let me just say that this is your interview, but I love your writing from the standpoint of I'm a writer as well. And you really are extremely analytical. And I love like writers. I used to be a staff writer, actually.
Oh, really?
That
Where?
was my excuse to move back to LA.
Mm.
I got a staff writing position at, I had my own blog called Muse World, and I had a staff writing position at Blavity. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
yes, a lot of, you can actually, a lot of my work is still going viral. Um, but I love your writing. Yeah. And
Thank
now
you.
that I'm talking to you um, about your love of film and your love of cinematography, I understand why you would get my album. Like you would really get it.
Yeah, nah, like I'm big on the details and the stuff, and I'm big on details and subtext. That's just been my whole thing since I was a kid, whether it comes to music or movies or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's like the stuff that makes everything move and function the way it does. So
It is.
it's just like puzzle pieces. But nah, like that means the world. Nah, I really, really appreciate that. I just,
I love your writing. Even
thank you.
like your because some people are snobs. Some writers are snobs, like literal
True.
snobs, and like prudes, but you're not a prude. Like you in the hood with it too. And I love that because I am too. Like
Yeah, man. Nah, like all this shit is beautiful. And that's something that, like, like quick little side note, like I just like it took me getting a little older to realize that. Cause like I actually wrote a whole piece about my journey over when I was
yes,
used to write for DJ Booth. And like that was like it started like cause like yeah, I'm not gonna tell the whole story right now, but long story short, I was really big into crunk and snap music coming up, and then I discovered Doom,
yeah. You
and
gotta, if you
then
was here, I wish you could come to my party. Cause
man,
it's called, I want to say this because it's a plug for me and my organization.
come on now.
But I have a organization based off of my book, The Creative Black Woman's Playbook, which it was
Mm-hmm.
a comprehensive and interactive workbook to and research study I did on 35 Black women. I wrote it for myself, but I wrote it when I got the grant to write it. I knew I wanted to write something that would help Black women to see themselves, one, as powerful, creative beings, but two, like our ancestral right in this society to get paid well for our creative output. And
Facts.
I did a research study on 35 women, creative women. I'm sorry. I have
No,
a
don't
tiny bit of
apologize.
ADHD. Nah, not I got a lot of ADHD actually. Actually. Um, so we're gonna go in circles, but it always comes back. We always come back to where it is. But I wrote the book based on the research study of these women and why some of them like were really successful in their music careers. What resources did they have as a child, and what did they see? You know, did they feel that their imagination, that they could use it? Did they feel that it was valid? Their creative work was valid? Did they have the financial resources to do the, like, I went to Phillips Exeter with like, because my mother went there on scholarship actually, in the prep program. I went to, I studied in conservatories my whole life on scholarship, based off of my mother being like, we gonna find this. But I'm grateful because she searched resources, and I realized Black women didn't have resources. So I'm having my event. It's called Parking Lot Pimping, and it's experiment one. And because I realized in LA and cities like this, a lot of the events are not geared towards Southern culture.
Right.
Even the events in the South sometimes are not, they don't understand how cool it is.
Right, man.
To be from the South and to like the shit that I didn't, goes back to, yeah, I'm back to what you just said. I didn't realize till later how, and like when I got here and I did the self work, the inner work, because I was so like, I really am a nerd. And so like I had so much social anxiety in these rooms, and because of my accent, because I didn't really listen to the music they listen to. Like, I'll listen to this shit. Like, I'm not into that. You know, that's cute, but I'm not into that. You know, like I'm still in the hood with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still wake up to Jeezy. Like, you know, Jeezy, like Thug Motivation and Hypnotized and stuff like that.
Right,
and
man.
Gucci, like First Day Out and stuff like that.
I remember, I'm sorry to cut you off. I remember.
No, please.
I remember when people were still getting kicked out of school for wearing snowman t-shirts. At least one person who went to my middle school got kicked out for wearing a snowman t-shirt. Like,
them niggas couldn't get kicked out for that in Memphis, because that's the culture. Like, I'm a dog. Right. Like, yes, that song was terrible, but I'm a dog was literally like if you go into the club, it's gonna get fucking, it's only live when with Gucci. I remember like literally sneaking out, because I had to sneak and wearing my friends' clothes, headed to like these clubs. And back in the day, like Nicki and Gucci and Gotti, like they were like Webby. I love Webby.
Oh man.
I love Webby. You know, rest in peace to Boosie. Rest in peace to Boosie.
He said rest in peace to Boosie.
Rest in peace to Boosie, but I still bump Boosie.
I feel you.
Trill fam and shit like that.
Right.
But it's interesting because when people hear my music, and I have to say this out loud on your amazing interview platform, people hear my albums and they hear my music and they don't know, like, bruh, I get my inspiration not only from sci-fi and the books I read and Lord of the Rings, but nigga, I'm in the hood with it. Right. Like Project Pat, the reason why he's my favorite rapper is because when you listen to Getty Green and stuff like that, he was telling stories. Like he actually, like on the album that blew up with Chicken Head on it, he actually gave his life to Christ. He wasn't selling dope at that time. Right. And he was telling stories. Like he was telling stories. If you actually go to his interviews, like he didn't want to rap about that anymore. He didn't. But like he was like, man, I'm a storyteller. And so we can, that is a wormhole that I would love to go down. Right. The importance of Southern rap and the story and how it is perpetuated in so many cultures.
Right.
It's so like it is like that story of the dope dealer, the pimp, the blah blah blah. That's why I love Live, Pink Seafood, because
Right.
like, you know, the shit he's rapping about, he ain't rapping about selling drugs or dope. He's telling fucking stories. And
Right.
you know, that's why I fell in love with Mos Def. That's why I fell in love with Andre 3000. Like my
Uh-huh.
favorite rappers are Andre 3000, Project Pat. Those are my top two.
I get it. Two things.
And Nicki
A,
Minaj.
right. Yeah, I mean, like, come on.
Because
Yeah. You know, like the New York and
I was
Jersey.
on the plane with
Yeah.
Dwayne. Okay. You hoes was not there. You hoes was not there. I was
Oh
there.
no, that's
I was in
hilarious.
I was in the club. I was sneaking to the club when she had the wig, the pink behind the, you know, and she was with Gucci and you know, Safari was in the back rap, you know, her hype man. Like I was there.
That was yeah, that was like right after Super Bass and shit. That's crazy. Yeah.
So before
Right. Yeah. No.
You're
You're
I'm
right. That
talking
was
about
before.
before when she
Right.
was
Right.
like
Right.
mixtape Nikki.
My fault. Yeah. No, Super Bass was different. But
That
anyway.
was different.
Yeah. But like two things. A, I don't know if you know her, but I had my OG Regina Bradley on the podcast. She's a professor and she wrote a whole book. I don't have her book on me right now, but she wrote a whole book about Outkast and about how about how Southern hip hop culture isn't like respected by you know like collegiate institutions, and like she like specifically teaches stuff like that. I had her on the podcast, must have been like, oh man, like it was like one of the early ones, maybe in like the teens or the 20s. But shout out to Regina. I'm a Regina's
Think of that
amazing.
book because I'm really taking notes. Like I love your work, so I'm taking notes.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that so much. I'm so mad that I'm forgetting that. So the book is called Chronicling Stankonia: The Rise of the Hip Hop South. It's only about 100 pages long, and it's like a combination of like, she goes off and talks like she does like analytical breakdowns of every Outkast album, like from Southern Playalistic to Speaker Box, and just talks about like chronicling Stankonia, the rise of the hip hop South. Yeah, so like that whole book is about everything you just like, at least at least from like a more like it's from like a Georgia perspective because she's from Georgia. But yeah, shout out to Gina. Shout out
that might be my next book. Well, that's not my next book. I'm working on a book now, but that's not my next book. But yeah.
But yeah, so that, and before we get too off track, the whole like, it always confuses me when people talk about the South and like don't understand that like people are telling stories in these songs. Like, have you never listened to
Gucci has been telling the same story since his first like CD, like 3-6 is like, you can't like these new rappers and not pay homage to Memphis motherfucking Tennessee or like Houston or like, you know, like you can't, because it's like the stories that these niggas are like lying and telling, I still like respect it, but it's people that live that life and still do.
Right, you know, and
that's like their Frodo journey.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's
and like,
their
you know,
hero's tale.
Just like it, you know, like it just like, I remember when Dolph passed. It wasn't that long ago, but like I was already a fan before he passed.
Don't get me started.
But yeah, you know, like
he also raised me. He's from South Memphis too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's why I brought him up. It's just like, you know, like it's just like people, you know, like naturally whenever a rapper dies, people are always ready to like go and like dissect the work, and everybody's like, oh, he was a genius, whatever. Like, he's been on that shit forever, you know, like just like he was always just telling these, like, he was a storyteller, you know, like Dolph's a storyteller, Key Glock's a storyteller.
Bruh, his son is a Key Glock. Okay. Key Glock. Key Glock. Give him his damn props. Key Glock is
Like,
fire. Since I was six is one of my favorite rap songs. By Key Glock. I love Key Glock.
that whole yellow tape just really does something to me. And the last Dumb and Dumber, the Dumb and Dumber 2, the him
I
and
wasn't
Glock.
really into Dumb and Dumber. It had to grow on me, but I'm from Memphis, so like we wasn't really feeling it. But like it was a few of the cuts. I was like, okay, they back to the storytelling shit.
Man,
because they were playing around on a lot of them songs. They were just playing. Playing.
I personally like Dumb and Dumber 2 more than I like Dumb and Dumber 1.
Yeah,
but that's just
me.
For sure. That's just me. and then you're like, and like you look at like 8Ball and MJG, who not enough people talk about 8Ball and MJG. Like,
it's actually sad.
It really is, like,
they have so many deep. There's a deep cut with Diddy. Hold up. Faith Evans and 8Ball and MJG. Mm-hmm. Diddy, 8Ball. Hold up.
Yo, well, while you're looking for that real quick, like I know we're talking about like deep like storytelling and shit, but my favorite, you ever hear My Homeboy's Girlfriend before?
No.
My Homeboy's Girlfriend is my favorite 8Ball song ever. It's literally just a story about how like he goes to his homie's house and he meets his girlfriend and they're just like having an affair. And just like the way he tells the story of them, just like it's like he gets up early, he goes down, she makes him breakfast, and just like how it all progresses, like just like he's telling this just like amazing, just like like bro's like an asshole, but like yeah. I just love the way he tells that story. It's just like the beat is crazy. Just like, I don't know, man. Like there's just so much going on there that just like,
so most of my inspiration is from classical music and like the way that that's a story, the way that it's composed and written in the movements and the suites. It's a story when you listen to it. And then like when you listen to like Getty Green and like Yo Gotti's old shit, like it's a story.
Yeah, like, and just this is actually a great way to. Well, actually, no. Yeah. Sorry, I'll ask. I was looking at my questions real quick, and I just got my brain just jumped all over the place. But we're talking about stories, so like you've written a book before and you did it through your nonprofit, the Creative Black Women's Network, like you mentioned.
I wrote it through another grant program through at the time it was called the Women's Center for Creative Work, and now it's the Feminist Center for Creative Work. They were giving out grants to write books, and I as soon as my friend Hannah Ward, she's a painter, I'm always around painters, she told me about the grant, I knew, I was like, oh, I stayed up like for a week and wrote out this proposal and I got it. So yeah. And from my book, 2020, I realized, oh, there is a leg of this book that I can create to disperse resources. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And it's taken on its own life. So I'm excited to keep that going and keep it growing.
Right. And, like kind of just like going from, like being a musician to writing a book, like was that, well, I mean, like you also said that you had been writing for Blavity for a period of time. So like you were already writing or yeah, you were already writing. So like, like kind of, but like channeling your creativity into like writing like a book is different than like, it's different than writing an article. So like through writing that book and then deciding to take that and turn it into like something auditory, like what was that experience like writing the book, and how did it kind of like, did you kind of learn anything new about yourself as a creative from writing? Yeah, I'm sure you did. Like, what did you learn about yourself?
So when I first did it, I did a ton of research, because I didn't have the belief that my beliefs were valid unless I could back them up by research. And the book was way longer than it was supposed to be. Was too long. And the editor, they sat with me and they were like, Veronica, we want to take out the whole portion, one like a big chunk of your research, not to discourage you, but you don't have to prove everything that you believe. You don't have to prove it. Like, people will believe you. You are a thought leader. That's why we gave you this grant to write this book. And that's why we support it, and we're going to disperse it for you. I realized the same thing with my album, my LP, is that my imagination is valid. My points are valid. The way I compose, the way I write about my pain and my joy, my dissociation, right, it's valid. And I had to fall in love with my voice. I had to really like stand on my contentions. And through writing the book, it taught me that I could finish something.
And having the confidence to know that you can finish something and really just like stick the landing is I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I almost have the opposite problem. Like starting is always the hardest part for me, especially when it comes to writing. I like, since I was young, I've always been the person who, like, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew the points I wanted to make, but introducing the shit and really like establishing like a thesis was always the hardest. Or like not even establishing a thesis, but just like a beginning, like starting was just like how do I know what I want to say, but how do I want to say it? So like as someone who kind of needed a little extra confidence to know that you could like end it, like I feel
That's a big thing, because it was the same with my album. It was the same with my book. Right. I was so late turning it in. That's why I love them. I support them, because I was always late because I never thought it was good enough. And they're like, Veronica, this is actually more than enough. And it was the same with my album, like with Swarvy. Shout out to Swarvy. He mixed and mastered it.
Yeah, shout out to Swarvy for
real. And he sat with me every moment, like with every song, and we picked, like I overdid everything. I overthinked everything. And he was like, actually, Veronica, this is done. I sat with the project and with Mind Design, actually, and I let him hear it. And he was like, what else do you have to do to this again? And I was like, I need to fix this. I need to fix that. He said, no, this sounds like it's done. And I didn't believe him for some reason. But he was just like, bro, this is done. You need to put this idea out. Right. So you can like focus on other ideas. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. It gets better with time. And so that's a huge thing.
Right. That's a huge thing. Like that's the thing I had to learn myself too. Is just like sometimes it's done. Like you don't like sometimes you just need to, like, even if it's not perfect, if somebody has to go through and edit and add notes, like sometimes you just need to just let it be and stop tinkering. And that's okay. Like it's something that I have to tell myself a lot still, but it's a process. But like like having people around you to kind of like confide in and be like, yo, bro, this is done. Like, you don't have to do this. Like, it's like trusting people enough to kind of let them help you figure that out is, like that's not easy to do, but like if you have that, it's great that you have that. Like, I don't, I didn't have anything else to add to that. I just think that's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a blessing to have people around you that are have seen more than you and like see you,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing. So I'm very grateful for my community, because really my the my album, my LP is a product of community. Even though like I produced it all in my little hobbit house, like it's community,
Right.
very communal.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Chronicles of the Caterpillar, the Egg, which has been in the works for a long time. And like I've been sitting with it for a while. And you mentioned, like on top of the cinematic influence, which really, like comes through in the way the tracks kind of they just flow into each other, and the interludes, people talking about, like, like wake up, and just very like it gave me almost like very like Alice in Wonderland vibes, which I kind
Yeah.
of really enjoyed. So just like walk me through where the idea for the Chronicles of the Caterpillar came from, and like why this was the debut LP. Like that's always going to be a statement no matter what. So
Yeah. So the Chronicles of a Caterpillar is a play on the Chronicles of Narnia, obviously, but
right.
Lord of the Rings, it's the hero's journey. It's a book, and it was created like in book form.
Right.
And ultimately, I knew that what I loved about artists that I fell in love with when I was younger is their like hero's journey. How, you'll see an artist and they'll be putting their music out and it's really dope. And I don't know, they're pushing and they're pushing and they're growing and it's growing. And like you just watch that story. And I knew that that was super inspiring to me when I was younger. And so I knew that, like with Kanye and late registration, the way he did that, those three, like
Right.
I knew that I wanted to do something where the people that were following my career could follow the journey. And because that's what it is. And if you come out the gate like you know everything, that's definitely great. But like, I mean, confidence, you can still be confident in like I'm growing and I will continue to grow. And I don't know, that was my favorite thing about it, is that like it's a story and the story will continue and the characters will get even more vivid, that you hear and stuff like that. So
Right. And like another thing that really, like, the first place my mind went was The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which I'm sure is
yeah,
a book you've read at some point. I
yeah.
feel I feel like everyone of a certain age has read I feel like everybody of every age low key has
Right,
read fucking The Very Hungry Caterpillar, but like,
right, 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 right.
and like it's just like really, the thing that's so crazy about this project is that it's like very whimsical but also like very serious too,
It's
like
very serious.
like it's
It's very serious. It's very whimsical and
right.
very serious, kind of like A Wrinkle in Time
Uh-huh.
or Willy Wonka. Like, you have a family that's in abject poverty
Yeah.
that comes into wealth at the end, that gets the golden ticket. Like you
Right.
have a son that goes out and looks for the golden ticket and gets the golden ticket, and they, needed that, and I don't know. I think that we all use some form of dissociation in order to deal with life, because life is challenging.
Yep.
And I think the way I deal with life through art is creating worlds and creating stories, because I am a writer first and a researcher, I would say, and a writer first. And yeah, I think it's important to talk about things that people are really dealing with and to discuss things that people are really dealing with, or like to live in truth.
Yeah,
Moreover, it is important to live in truth so you never have to tell a lie.
right.
And people that are attracted to your art can grow with you, as opposed to like this starch, like, woo, different, brand new bitch, like, no, I never
Right.
wanted to be like that. Like, people that follow my career are gonna be like, wow, like I knew her from, whatever, so
Right. And like you said, it's a journey. Like you're creating your own journey through music. And like not everyone is equipped or like needs to be the type of person who can just like, we don't all need to be a Kanye who's like constantly shedding skin and changing form or at least he was. I feel like he's kind of starting to repeat himself a little bit. And obviously the other Kanye is a lot, but like, like from like that from that early college dropout, run to like Pablo, like that was like every single one of those Kanye's was different, every single one of them. And like that, so many people use that as a template. And I love that, but like,
yet the same. Yet
right,
the same.
right.
Yeah, yet the same.
And like, but like not everyone needs to do that.
No,
Like not everybody needs to fucking just like, you don't have to constantly rewrite your own rules, and like you can even just like kind of start out with a base like you're doing, and just build on that, and
yeah.
then have it to where like like 5-10 years down the line, you have people being like, oh, like let me start this trip with V The Martian, V.C.R, Veronica from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and really follow the progression and see, like that's, and the way you do it with this project, like there's so many different kinds of music on here. There's
Yeah,
lots of classical, there's
yeah,
lots of soul, there's lots of jazz, there's a chopped and screwed bit at the end of the first song,
yeah.
like, and you bring all that stuff together, and it never sounds cluttered. It never sounds like you're trying to do too much just because,
No,
like you make it like, I feel like I've talked about this a few times, but like I don't think people understand how challenging it is to make those types of sounds work together.
no,
You know,
bruh.
like,
It is so easy to work with the algorithm,
right,
to create a project that is for the algorithm. All of it sounds linear because um that's easy. But I knew like, what's the cool thing about a book? What is the cool thing about a book? I looked at this project like I'm writing a book. And if you study the tropes of a book and the parts of a book, you have very specific characters. You have very like specific points where there has to be a high, and then there has to be a come down from the high. And then you have a moment, Lord of the Rings, where, you know, Frodo, he wants to give up. And then he has that moment where he realizes his why. He has that spark of influence that pushes him to put the ring in there, like literally loses his finger and had to throw it in Mordor, had to throw it in the fires of Mordor, because that was his purpose. And then you have the serene calm down from the climax. I wanted it to be that.
right,
I like that.
right, yeah, like rising action, falling action, climax, like the whole little language arts pyramid that, yeah, like that's like,
Not
yeah,
even language arts, but when you really study, like I'm writing a book. I'm writing like
right,
a fiction book. My first book was nonfiction. This is fiction. And like it's way more challenging to write fiction than nonfiction. Because with
For
nonfiction,
sure.
I'm just basically putting my research. That's what it is.
Right.
But like
Yeah.
with fiction, you have to start off with a very particular outline that is not boring.
Yeah.
Like the worst thing about books is like when it's just the same. The movie is just, that's why I was like, Raised by Wolves picks up at a point. It picks up because they had to pick that thing up. Because I was like, wait a minute, sir. But like, yeah, it's never fun. An album is not fun to me if it's all the same. Like my favorite albums are extremely climactic, extremely. So I was studying to write the book at the same time as I was studying, as I was like creating the album and the sequencing and everything. And that's why Blue isn't part of my single, isn't part of the story, because it's part of the story.
Right. Like it's just a Lucy that you like, but it's not, it's just not a part of the thing. And
Blue is
like,
his own world. Blue is Lily Lotus. Like Lily Lotus is his own world. Like Blue is his own world. Like it was created literally to feel the way it feels, for the listener, for easy listening. But Parable of the Sower is not an easy book to read. Any J.R. Tolkien is not an easy book. I've never, like, my mother really did go to Harvard and teach me to read. Like, she was very much the type of mom that would tell me, Veronica, use your words. Veronica, like, you can push harder than that. Or like, you can say that differently. You can do that, because she knew as a Black woman, as an activist herself in ways, she knew that in order for me to really, I don't even know if she thought that I would really be an artist, but she just wanted me to think outside of the box. And I'm really grateful. And I hated it growing up. Because, I still love Sierra and B2K and Pretty Ricky. And, like, I'm into all of it.
Right.
But the albums really that stuck out to me, they were extremely climactic. Extremely.
What were some of those albums? I'm curious now, because like there, like
Kid Cudi.
there's
Kid Cudi.
yeah.
His project.
Which one? Man on the Mirror 1, right?
Man on the Moon 1. Yeah.
That's what I meant. I said Man in the Mirror. I meant Man on the
Yeah.
Moon. My
The
fault.
Man on the Moon. Yeah. And it like Indica, like how he used Common as the narrator of his story, and how he stuck with the story. Like he stuck with it. Like it was almost like why I fell in love with him. It was his heroic journey. He stayed in character, and he told these stories through pain. Through pain. He was telling painful stories.
Yeah.
Through almost in like a fiction way,
Right.
And he had those climaxes, and he had those moments of like calm, and that he knew that like every song couldn't be little homie in the room had no one, like every
or Make Her Say, yeah.
yeah, like everything couldn't be that. Like he had to make some songs that really were cathartic to him. And then he has to have some songs kind of like Trip that are funny and whimsical. Um, but it's some deep shit there.
Right. See, I really respected that. That's what I loved about the first Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
And to an extent, that's what I liked about Man on the Moon too. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I've always appreciated and respected about Cudi, while
Mm-hmm.
not
Sorry.
enjoying 85. Oh, what a cutie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, without liking 85% of his music. Like everything
Yeah.
after Man on the Moon too, I was like, this isn't for me no more.
Right.
I'm off the train. But
Right.
I appreciate everything that you just said. And like even if I didn't like the music, which I don't really, I like saw that in what he was writing and what he was doing and how it still connects with people. Because like people talk about Cudi in the same breath they talk about Kanye, except
Yeah.
like like Cudi is somebody else who kind of changed what he did and how he did it a bunch of times, but like that connects with people. And even if I don't like the music, I appreciate him kind of giving people that outlet and helping them understand all that stuff, because that's important, like it goes beyond whether or not you like the music. Like if
Yeah.
it makes an impact, like that means something, like there's obviously something there, even if you don't see it.
Right.
And I think excuse me, I think one thing that's been really interesting about talking to you for this last like hour and 40 minutes has been like you really exist at like you do like you really embody so many different kinds of art. Like
Yeah.
you're a musician, you're
Yeah.
a writer,
Yeah.
you're a composer,
Yeah.
you're really in yeah, I mean like ostensibly you're like a filmmaker, like you're really committed to like fleshing these worlds out. And like even though like just this, it's just you kind of like sit right at the intersection of film, music, and literature. Like
Yeah.
those three things are really clearly very important to you.
Yeah.
And like I guess just like as someone who really kind of favors all three of these things, like I don't even know how I want to ask this question. Like where do you like how do you manage to put equal amounts of yourself into these different types of art? Because like it's hard to it's kind of hard to have a voice translate the same way across different mediums, like so like is that something you think about often? And like do you have one that you prefer over the other? And like I'm kind of rambling right now and just like asking hella questions, but like
They're all the
yeah.
same. They're all the same. Like art is art, and that's why I respect artists. Um, the artist will always prevail. That is one of my like sayings.
Right.
If you see what you're making as art as opposed to a commoditized thing that you're selling, it will always prevail. It will always find an audience. And because there's purpose behind art, there's intention.
Right.
And studying with working at the underground for so long, studying as an art docent, studying in symphonies, like doing these things, and living in Memphis, it really, like, I'm very perceptive, and I really like observing. I'm very observant. And yeah, like if you just observe the world around you, you'll see like the cognitive dissonance that's there. And because I've observed it in my life. And because of that, film, writing, writing music, composing, and writing a book is all the same.
Right. Yeah, no, you're so right about just like, it is all art at the end of the day. And it's just so great to see it's just so great to see someone just like I always just have a big appreciation for people who are able to like get their shit off in multiple artistic mediums, because it is all art, but like it's all, you know, like there's like different techniques and just like different expectations that come with reading a book versus watching a movie versus listening to an album, you know. And to like have a voice be so strong and so connected to not just like yourself but like to kind of like the human condition in like that corny cliche sort of way, but
It
like
ain't
it's
cliche. The human condition. We need more people that make art about the human condition.
mm,
We need more people that make art intentionally, because we
right,
have a world of hurting people and no one wants to talk about it, but everybody's talking about it, like around the elephant.
yeah,
I love artists that are very aware of the elephant and call the elephant out. So.
right. And yeah, y'all can't see it, but V is scratching her cat's throat, and it just it was the cutest thing I've seen all week. Um, yeah, sorry, that just like really got me. But like obviously everything you just said, like that's, yeah, that's the most important thing right now, is just kind of like just like understanding that we all kind of need to work our way through this, and like this is like collective trauma. You know, like we get, and like so many people are gonna just like bury it, but you know, everybody who's talking about it is brave, and that's
Yeah,
the best, you know, like that
very brave.
bravery. We need that bravery.
Right.
um and my very last question to kind of tie all this up, considering all the things we talked about, is
Right.
so if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
It will most definitely be sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like a black suburban, lower to middle class family. It would definitely be directed by Yorgos. And I would be Frodo. I would be Frodo because I didn't want to leave Memphis, you know, like I didn't want to leave the South. That's why I create music and films that celebrate Black culture, that celebrate um, Southern culture. That's why I rap Project Pet right after I play Many Lives, you know, because it's,
Right.
you know, Frodo never wanted to leave the Shire, but he had to in order to save his world, you know. And I feel like I'm always battling with that. And I know that there's other people that are on their alchemic heroics journey in so many different ways, um, that needs something, that needs art that feels like home. And that reminds them that they're not alone. And yeah, Lord of the Rings was that for me. And I would definitely be Frodo. My cat's name is Frodo.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah,
Oh, that's that. Wow, that
yeah.
wow. um, just because I'm curious now, what would, so you know, in that case, like, you know, you're Frodo. What's your one ring? Like, what's the thing that you need to go? You know, not even necessarily to like destroy it like Frodo did, but like, what's the thing? What's
I
the,
think
yeah,
I think for me, personally, my why is seeing other Black women and Black people, human beings, see themselves as worthy of whatever dream they dream, and finishing it and getting done or starting. Like literally, the last track on my project is named The Beginning, because it's always like when you finish a book or finish some type of art, it's like you're beginning again.
right,
So I think my ring for me is just if one person in Memphis, Tennessee, one little girl sees herself as worthy, just worthy. And that's my ring.
All right. Yeah. You know, like that's just, you know, like having that one little girl who's not afraid to have read Zathura, or
Yes,
like or
yes.
like or like
And still rap Project Pat. Okay.
exactly, yeah, Project Pat, Dolph, Key Glock, whoever the fuck coming out of Memphis next, you know, like that's, yeah, like that's just, I love that. That's just, yeah. um I don't got any more questions. That's it. But V, this was so enlightening. This was
So
just like,
I love talking to you. I knew it was gonna be a great combo because I love your writing.
oh, thank you so much again. No, like that really means everything. And just to like, just to kind of like have your trust in that regard, and just kind of like see this happen over the course of like a however long it's been, and just to like have us like be on the precipice and shit of like it's finally happening. It's like I'm just happy for your success.
Yes.
Just
Thank you.
like,
Thank you.
no, of course.
God is good. God is good.
And now I gotta go find your writing, because
Yeah.
I didn't know you
Yeah. I'll
used
send
to
you some
write.
stuff. You're gonna
Nah,
laugh.
please.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.